My dearest Rosanna, this trip to Jamaica has been fruitful. We've got the ship loaded down with sugar and enough rum to keep the entire Republic drunk for years. My ship should leave here within a week of me writing this letter. P.S. I'm bringing you and your sister a gift. Love, Joseph.
Welcome to Galveston Unscripted. In this episode today, we're going to be diving into oleanders and how Galveston became known as the Oleander City, and how oleanders helped Galveston in post-1900 storm recovery. Thank you to our video sponsor, The Daily News, bringing you the news since 1842. Support your local newspaper, The Daily News. Got a little bit of rain here, but that's not going to stop me from talking about oleander. Oleander is also known as Nerium oleander. Oleander is believed to have originated in the Mediterranean region. One thing I must mention in this video is that oleanders are poisonous, so don't let yourself, your kids, or your dogs eat it. And be sure to thoroughly wash your hands after touching oleander plants or flowers. Now, depending on where you are, that can actually be considered a benefit, as many pests don't actually eat an oleander plant or flowers. This beautiful flowery shrub has thousands of years of history. Oleanders were not only present in ancient Greece, but also graced the gardens of both Roman and Chinese civilizations. And thanks to the layers of volcanic ash preserved from the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, we have evidence that oleanders thrived in the gardens of Pompeii as well. Murals dating back to 79 AD depicting the oleander. So is an oleander a tree or is it a shrub? It can actually be referred to as both. They can grow up to 20 feet in height. The first documented oleander brought to Galveston was back in 1841 by a man named Joseph Osterman. He brought oleander back to his wife and sister-in-law here on Galveston Island from Jamaica. Now, how oleander ended up in Jamaica was more than likely through trade from Europe over to the Caribbean, somewhere in the 16 and 1700s. I'm standing here at the intersection of 25th and Sealy, the site of one of the original oleander plantings here in Galveston. Joseph brought the first oleander to Galveston in 1841 to his wife and sister-in-law. His sister-in-law, Miss Isadore Dyer, lived on this lot. Miss Dyer found oleanders easy to cultivate and generously shared them with her friends and neighbors around the island. As early as 1846, people took note of the yards in Galveston adorned with blooming oleanders and mentioned how they enhanced the city's beauty in the early days. Oleanders thrived in Galveston in the subtropical weather and alkaline soil and salt spray, which kind of makes Galveston the perfect place for oleanders to grow and thrive. Oleanders were a staple in Galveston through most of the 19th century, which leads us to the 1900 storm and the grade raising. The 1900 storm strikes Galveston on September 8th, 1900, and destroys much of the city. In the years that followed, in an effort to fight back against nature, Galveston began elevating most of the urbanized portion of Galveston Island in conjunction with the building of the seawall. And with that effort came the push to bring a bit of beauty back to Galveston Island. The Women's Health Protective Association was established in Galveston shortly after the 1900 storm, with a focus on bringing beauty back to the island. 66 women led the initiative, Their aim was to restore the city's beauty and enhance public health. Despite the hurricane's destruction, which wiped out much of Galveston's vegetation, including trees and shrubs, the Women's Health Protective Association worked diligently to replant and beautify the city. The oleander was selected to be the beautification shrub of choice, as it had proven itself a sturdy and worthy candidate for Galveston's climate and soil. Through a series of fundraising activities, the Women's Health Protective Association generated funds to support their initiatives. By 1912, they had successfully planted 10,000 trees and over 2,500 oleanders, significantly contributing to its beautification and recovery efforts on Galveston Island. These oleanders are tough and can survive in sandy, salty soil, just what Galveston needed during the grade raising. Through the early 20th century, much like today, blooming oleanders adorned homes and streets all over the island, intentionally or not, symbolizing survival and recovery. I am standing at the Betty Head Oleander Garden at the intersection of 27th and Sealy. If you haven't been over to this garden, you absolutely need to, especially when these oleanders begin to bloom. The sentiment in Galveston of survival and recovery would not be the last for the oleander. Let's fast forward a few decades and take a leap to Japan in 1945. In the last days of World War II, Japanese forces were relentless. American forces dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Japan, Nagasaki and Hiroshima. As you can imagine, this absolutely devastated these 2 cities, and Japan surrendered a short time later. During the recovery effort of the city of Hiroshima, the oleander flowers were first to bloom after the city had essentially been wiped off the map, and this was noticed by survivors of the nuclear blast at Hiroshima. In 1976, the oleander flower was chosen as the official flower of Hiroshima City. Very different circumstances, but like Galveston, the oleander represents survival and recovery. In 1967, the National Oleander Society, later renamed the International Oleander Society, was established right here in Galveston by Maureen Elizabeth Cupie Guido and Clarence Pleasance, inspired by their love for oleanders and Galveston's history with this shrub. The society promoted oleanders worldwide, corresponding with influential figures like Ronald Reagan and Lady Bird Johnson to plant oleanders along highways for the Highway Beautification Project. And today, the International Oleander Society has members globally and actively promotes the plant around the world.
We have seen Galveston become home to the most expansive diversity and variety of oleander. Galveston Island boasts a diverse collection of over 100 oleander varieties, many of which are named after notable residents and were developed and cultivated here on Galveston Island.
Galveston has had quite a few nicknames over the past couple centuries: the Wall Street of the Southwest, the Playground of the South, the Ellis Island of the Southwest, and the Oleander City. But it's safe to say that Galveston is the Oleander City. The International Oleander Society right here in Galveston has hosted meetups of oleander lovers from around the world and has even received thank you and appreciation letters from places like Hungary, Germany, Greece, and Japan. And those thank you letters I have linked in the description of this video. The oleanders here in Galveston Island usually bloom between April and October, blanketing our island in a variety of colors, ranging from reds, whites, pinks, yellows, you name it. Well, that's Galveston, the Oleander City. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like and subscribe and follow. If you learned anything at all in this video, please make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on all social media. And if you haven't yet, go check out the podcast feed. We've got hours and hours of historical content on that podcast. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Galveston Unscripted.